Mama, that was it. I'm not asking you to go back and make amends. I'm asking you to stop.
Yes.
And you know what? I think that is really the whole thing about when I remember the story differently. By denying what happened, you're almost you're re-insulting or re-injuring the person again.
Yes.
And they're saying, just stop. I would rather you say, I don't remember, but I know we were both hurt and I apologize for my part in that. I would rather you said that and let it go than to tell me, I don't think that's what happened. That's not what happened. I didn't do that. Then it's like, okay, now you're doing it to me again. Hello, family. Welcome back to Calibama Talking, the podcast. I am your host, Chef Lorious, everybody's auntie, and
Mama VJ, the community grandma.
Mom and I are sitting here, you guys. This has been the funniest podcast, and we just started recording it. But we only just started recording it because we had started talking and then realized we hadn't hit record.
Let's just say when both parties go to bed around 4 or after.
Yeah.
And both parties wake up around 8:30. You're not going to get your sharpest minds.
But you're going to get the funniest conversation probably ever.
Well, yeah, there's a few filters that's probably gone.
That's kind of why I said, let's go ahead and do it because, you know, you are especially filtered because you grew up in an era where you learned to be filtered. I am moderately filtered because I'm from California. But when I get tired, I just say stuff and I figure, you know what? No better time. Let's just go ahead on and talk to the people like we talk to each other. How you doing other than sleepy, Ma?
I'm doing great.
You are? You wearing that red lipstick?
Thank you very much. I mean, after all, red lipstick? Oh my gosh.
It looks good on you too. I'm getting a girl crush on Mama. Go ahead, Mama. Okay, one other thing I have to say. You guys, the first episode or one of the previous episodes, I should just say it that way because I may not have it exactly perfect, but don't stop listening. We talked about to drink or not to drink, and Mama said she was not going to condemn me. So that episode, we had water. Today, I actually have a sangria, and Mama has not once looked at me cross-eyed.
There's no need to.
Uh-oh.
Well, you know.
Why is there no need to?
You know, the thing that I have finally reached is it's an individual thing.
Yeah. She's right.
And I love what Paul talks about in there. He talks about, you know, you that are strong and you that are weak. Well, I always, again, my analytical mind says, well, what made the strong one strong and the weak one's weak?
Who's determining what's weak and what's strong? Who's the judge in this situation?
It was a long time before actually, it follows behind the part when I finally realized that we all put ourselves in the Bible story. Yeah. Everybody puts themselves in the Bible story. What always fascinates me is we generally put ourselves in the ones that are being persecuted. That is why we are persecuting everybody else. We insist that we're the ones that's being persecuted. It's like, what?
Well, it's no fun if you're not the person who becomes the ultimate victor over all of those who have mistreated you. What fun is it if that's not the case?
Well, and God really deals me with on that. So I'll be reading something. My favorite one is in Matthew 7, I think, when he talks about getting the pick out of your brother's eye when you have this telegram pole in your eye.
Yeah.
Okay. So beginning this year, God gave me 20/20 vision. He would give me clarity. But before that, he had given me to deal with the beanpole in my own eye.
Wow.
That was hard.
I can help you, though, because I can see other people's issues.
Oh, yeah. It's prophetic. You have been anointed.
I am prophetically pathetic. I am pathetically prophetic and prophetically pathetic.
Serious. I kept saying, why is it I'm the only person? you're sitting in church with a group of people at least, and everybody is sitting there talking all kinds of stuff, and you know what they are saying is crazy, and you know what you're thinking is crazy too.
Well, maybe it's like a double negative. If you have two negatives, they cancel each other out and you get a positive. So maybe if you say you're crazy and they say that they're crazy, together we'll come up with a lucid statement.
That would be true, but that never happened. I was the only person that was confessing that I was off.
But I know who you were talking to, and you were not the only person that was off. Okay, that's that unfiltered stuff, because we're not supposed to be saying stuff like that on here. But we just playing. Okay,
I've been in lots of settings, so I mean, it depends. You can pick it one.
That's true. We have been in lots of, but you know what? You mentioned something that was really interesting to me. And I want to talk about this with our life topic of the day, because our life topic of the day is what we really want to talk about, but you said the clarity of this year and wanting to really see things clearly. And that has become, I want to almost say it's like my mantra this year. Every time something happens unexpected, especially, or something that really reveals the true nature or character of a thing, I'm always going, 2020 vision. Mama said clarity, 2020 vision. So here's the life topic for today. That's not how I remember it. And what I want to talk, and you guys, so you remember, if we're still kind of new at this podcast, so we're having fun, we're still building. The life topic of the day, I don't tell Mama what it is because I want to get her honest opinion. And if I tell her ahead of time, she's going to curate her answer, and I don't want it curated. Although today, as tired as we are, we probably should have curated, but we are not curating today. So what I mean by that's not how I remember it. You know how you go through things in life and things happen with people, and you kind of look back over things after a while, and you kind of come back to relationships, or you don't come, just things, how life goes. And you ever have it where you fall out with someone, or I won't say fall out, have a disagreement. And then years later you come back and you say, oh, well, I'm really sorry that this is such and such a thing happened. And the other person says, oh, well, that's not how I remember it. You did this to me and blah, blah, blah. And you're thinking, that's not how I remember it. You did. How do you deal with when people rewrite history of a relationship, friendship, relationship, not meaning just dating, relationship, anything? How do you deal with it, or how do you approach it when people rewrite the history of things that have happened to suit their story, putting themselves in the story as the victim?
Well, first of all, that's a nice question, but I could do better with that one. Okay. I could do much better with that one.
Okay, break it down, Mama.
I was in a situation where something really bad had went down, and it was really ugly, super ugly. And so time went by, maybe 2 or 3 years went by, and I'm out shopping. Uh-oh. I'm across town shopping. I'm way away shopping. And I run into one of the people that was involved in the situation. Oh. The person runs up to me and apologized for what they had done.
Okay, well, that's...
No, you got to get it.
Okay.
So I say to the person, oh, that's okay. It's okay. Everything's fine. Okay. The person then stopped and said, but you did this to me.
Okay.
What?
So what was the apology for?
I knew at the time, because I knew this person.
Yeah.
At the time, she was sincere about the apology. And the fact that I wasn't fighting back or saying she did this or that, suddenly just the whole setup came back to her mind, what she was mad about.
And she got remad.
Yes.
And unapologized.
Yes.
And again said you had done something to her.
Yes.
So she apologized, unapologized, and reconvicted you.
Yes.
All in the same, and it's at the store.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'll make sure I got it clear.
So when you say, what do you do? That's the ultimate for me.
But is it fair though to yourself? I hate it when something goes down and then people later come back, oh, well, this, and they change the story. It just, Mama, I'm not playing. It irks the mess out of me because I'm like, look, just own your part. I'll own my part. I'll say what I did wrong. I'll say, look, I shouldn't have did this. I think I will. That's how I'm feeling. I say that. But it just irritates me when people change history.
You know what? People always change history. My experience is they always change history. They never quite own it the way you thought it happened. And so I've decided, I look back and says, okay, how I really handle this, I ask the question to myself, okay, how have I written the history to suit me?
No, that's not a fair question because I'm completely impartial at all times.
Whatever.
No, I get what you're saying.
But I really, and that's the only way I've known. I've always been that way.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've always been that way, it has driven my family crazy. My sisters and my mother would get so mad at me. They did this to you. And it's like, well, yeah.
See, but there's a fine line there because I've always felt like you're one of the most forgiving people I know. And you're the kind of person who no matter what someone's done, because you're not a doormat, but you're just very forgiving. You have a very open heart and someone can mess up and you will find a way to redeem them or give them some space. And sometimes I'm like, no, we're mad at them. We don't like them anymore. And that's just not who you are. But what's the difference or where do we strike the balance between knowing when to recognize something and not allowing ourselves to be walked over? Because as your daughter, I feel like I've seen you be hurt again or multiple times by the same person because they took advantage of your good heart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, now we don't suppose, when a person is just rewriting the story to the point that it's not true, mm-hmm. I don't buy that.
Yeah.
But, they get details mixed up.
Yeah, the details. They got the details a little mixed up. Yeah.
I always love the one story that happened with another family member. And these two family members is telling the same story. Mm-hmm. And it's such an opposite story until because I'm listening to this, I really felt the need to go back to find out what really, really happened.
Right.
And true enough, one person was really fabricating the story and the other one was telling the truth. Mm-hmm. Howbeit, how they were both telling it, it was so convincing. Right. And because of their personalities, you kind of knew something was more to it than what was being said.
Everything's not being discussed here.
Well, it's like Proverbs said, when the first person that comes and tells the story,
oh yeah,
you need to wait because then when the second person comes, it changes what was going on. But in this particular case, the stories were so wildly different. Mm-hmm. We're talking about, did I give you cake or did I not give you cake? Did we go on vacation or did we not go on vacation? It was really way off.
Somebody was lying.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's different.
The cutest part of it, mm-hmm. the person that was really telling it,
the tale,
mm-hmm.
the liar. Mm-hmm.
Well, the person that had the misrepresentation, at the most misrepresentation of the facts, yes, told the other person, I forgive you.
There are really no words for that. You forgive me for something you fabricated that I did.
Yeah.
You know what? You just going home now, and I'm going to holler at you later. Deuces. Man, but it's interesting because, there's a couple things that come to mind. One is whenever in any situation, there's two sides to every story. And usually the truth lies in the middle, right? And I guess what I try to figure out is I think I try to say the point is, or the goal is, what do I want out of the relationship? Sometimes you can fall out with a friend over something that just at the time, maybe it was where you guys were at the time and you've matured past that. And really you can kind of let that stuff go and it doesn't really matter. And even if they remember it a little different, it doesn't matter because you recognize where you were at a stage and you can move forward sometimes with them. But then sometimes if I'm like, no, I don't want to be bothered with this person anymore. I don't want them in my life anymore. Not in a mean way, like, talk, but just not a talk to the hand, but like, I don't need to continue a relationship with you. I think that drives sometimes how willing we are to meet in the middle on the story.
Well, yeah. What is it? Do you want to connect or disconnect?
No, there it is. There it is.
Yeah. Are you going to react or respond? When a person comes in and they're telling the tale and they're telling this story and it's not quite the same, then you have to understand, do I want to connect again or do I want to kind of let the relationship stay the same. Because if the person is coming in and they are telling the story in such a way that you don't even recognize what happened, then I probably don't want to reconnect anyway. So I
probably not.
Just like, I can just, go ahead.
What's hard for me is I'm a guarded person. It's funny. It's almost oxymoronic because I do all this stuff on social media. I talk all the time. I have so much to say about everything, but I'm actually very guarded about the things that mean the most to me. And because of that, I don't let tons of people in. You know what I'm saying? What?
But that's appropriate. You are not supposed to let tons of people in.
Okay, that's true.
I mean, there's levels of communication, there's the cliche, and then there's the facts, and then there's we might try to have a relationship and we might talk about some things. Yeah. But hey, you can't let everybody in. And that's the problem we have. I think that's the problem we have more than anything, is we keep trying to bring in people that we shouldn't have in those spaces.
And it hurts so bad when you give someone an access to a part of you and they take advantage of it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And the Lori in her 20s was like, forget that. I'm done. I'm out. You're dead to me. I could just not speak to you again. Lori in her 40s doesn't take those stances all the time because life has a way of things come around, people come around, and you don't need to write anyone off. But I've also found that it hurts more. It hurts more when something goes wrong and a person is unwilling to be honest about it, or when they want to then rewrite the story. And I find that bothers me more in my 40s than it did in my 20s.
Well, what's bothering you in your 40s is you've changed from where you just cut everybody off. Yeah. So you've let people in.
Yeah.
The thing for me is, as I've gotten older, I've learned that, let them go. I've learned that it's time to disconnect. I mean, some things has happened. And this is really bad. So you have people. This has never happened to me. Okay. But this is just a general thing. You will have people that will abuse children.
Oh.
And the child is abused, and the abuser wants the child to connect to them, and somehow, and they're always telling the story. It was the child that did this, the child that did that. And it goes with the child. And the problem is other adults in the family, as opposed to protecting the child, then will believe this story of the abuser. And then they keep trying to let the abuser off the hook at the expense of the child.
That's wrong.
It is. Now, when I talk about abuse, it's a whole gamut of abuse. Right. You can just have the emotional abuse.
Yeah.
And emotional abuse is huge.
It is.
Because nobody sees the scars. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the one when the person tells you you're nobody. Oh. You're never going to be okay. You're never going to amount to anything. And everything that you try, you're a failure, you're this. There's no scars for that.
Not visible ones.
Nobody sees that.
Right.
And nobody really hears it. And then they just tell you this screw up. Ugh. You're this numbchuck. I mean, just all kinds of just negative stuff that's constantly being said. And in that kind of relationship, generally, the story is always told differently. Yeah. Years go by. The person has spent hours in therapy. Oh my God.
The abuser or the abusee, probably.
The person that has been abused, that has spent hours in therapy. Yeah. And they finally have gotten to it, and they still need some more therapy. And they go back to the person to try to write it. Mm-hmm. And the person says, oh, no, that didn't happen. You did that.
That's just wrong. I hate that on so many levels. And I can't imagine how that feels for an abused child. I mean, I've been in relationships that were far from perfect and had someone who was causing harm say, oh, that's not what happened. And you're sitting there wanting to pull your hair out like, have you lost your freaking mind? That is exactly what happened. And you feel it makes you feel crazy.
Well, but what's going on in that instance, though, is the person is still harming. They're not, this is not a case where we're trying to apologize. We're trying to reconnect. The person is still harming.
And I guess that's true, because if they really wanted to reconnect, the first thing they would have to do would be to acknowledge what's happened.
Well, it really wasn't all that bad.
Well, that's easy for them to say. It didn't happen to them.
Oh, I love my husband's story.
My daddy's? Oh,
yeah.
The hitcher.
The hitter and the hitty. Oh, my goodness. My husband tells the story of being a little boy. And there was this particular lady, little girl that they used to call a name, Shake Your Head. Mm-hmm. And she did not like them calling her that name. Mm-hmm. And so one day she hauled off and she knocked
pants off.
Got her a stick and she went wham. knocked him out. He said blood came out of his nose.
Oh, Lord.
So now this is years have passed. Mm-hmm. Actually, we're at the funeral of one of the parents now. Uh-huh. And so this person goes up to the person, do you remember when you hit me over the head? And the person said,
she said, no.
He said, do you remember when we used to call you that name? Mm-hmm. She said, yeah, vaguely. He says, well, I'm going to tell you, you hit me and this is what happened. She says, I'm sorry. I don't remember it.
And I remember Daddy would say, you don't remember it because you were the hitter and I was the hittee.
Yes.
So she didn't remember it like he did. But you know what I could actually appreciate even in that story? She didn't say, that never happened.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It's you can actually deal with someone saying, I'm sorry, I really don't remember what, and just being honest, maybe they don't remember it. But it's this, that never happened. Then you're like, okay.
Well, the whole point was they were kids.
That's that first thing I was saying. So,
but anyway, she was really pleasant, and that was just the biggest story. And my husband, he always had the hitter and the hitty. Whoever remembers the story, you can always tell where they were. If you were on the receiving end, it is always a different story from the person that was giving it out.
Yeah, and sometimes when it comes to relationships with friends and people that mean something to you, sometimes I get mad at myself for being hurt. And not because I don't want to be hurt, but because I'm like, there's a piece of you that says, you knew you should have never trusted them. You knew you should have never let that person in. You knew you should have never opened up to that person. You know what I mean? And you're like, and I think back on things and say, okay, so in 5 years, how are you going to tell the story? How are you going to tell the story of what's happened? What's going to be your take on it? Are you just going to say, oh, nothing happened, or, oh, yeah, it was just time? Or how are you going to tell it? And what bothers me about it is I don't know. If it's wrong, it's wrong. And it feels to me like such a betrayal to myself to allow you to tell a story.
Okay. You're going to have to get down to actually what you're talking about is who's going to tell your story. That's what you're after.
I'm Hamilton now. Then who's
going to tell your story is what you're trying to deal with. Because unless it's a really, and I mean, life-changing thing,
yeah,
nobody's going to remember the story the way it happened, and it really doesn't matter. But life-changing things, the story is the story.
Yeah.
You know, but the thing that get me more than that, it doesn't bother me as much when people change the story. Mm-hmm. What bothers me is when everybody decides that I'm being a victim because I'm saying I've been hurt.
Okay.
Now that's what bothers me is, oh, you just have a victim mindset. Oh, you need to forgive. You just they're in your head. No, I was hurt.
Yeah. And you know, sometimes I feel like we over spiritualize human feelings so much. We try to take this high road of like, oh, well, don't take the bait. And it's not that that's not true. That is correct. You're not supposed to take the bait. If you want to be offended, you can be about anything. No one's discounting that. But that doesn't give us just a blank check to say and do whatever and blame the person for being human. You can't rewrite the story of hurting someone and say, well, no, they were just really in a fragile state at that time. No, what you said was mean and what you said and did was hurtful. And that's not, I don't know why we sometimes try to take this over spiritualization approach with it to make it be that the person who actually was dealing with something, they were the problem, and not, you know what I'm saying, Mom?
The person that's injured is the problem. I mean, I remember one of the things that also goes along to stories that's changed is when people borrow money from you.
Oh, Lord. Quickest way to lose a friend.
But then they don't pay you back, and then they insist that it never happened.
Yes. But you know what? You and Daddy prepared me for that well in life. Y'all told me you loan somebody money, just assume it's gone. It's gone. Just assume it's gone and don't expect it back, and you won't be disappointed. So I don't ever loan somebody something that I need.
No, you can't loan them what you need. But it's not a free pass. Right. I expect that you will pay me back. Now, we reach these points where my husband and I have figured this out. You get that point. Some people are going to borrow and they're never going to pay back.
Yeah.
But you have to reach that point where, this is the last time I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
There's a certain way you do that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you want to borrow this? Okay. And when are you going to pay me back? And when you say that, they pay you back in one way. They never come back and ask you for anything else again. Thank you. That only cost me.
Right. Or they actually give you your money.
Yeah, that's a possibility. You might get your money back.
But you know what I remember was, especially in this concept of that's not how I remember it. I remember one time, Grandma was very generous. My grandmother was a very generous woman, and she would help anybody. And if you couldn't pay her back, so this isn't just a money conversation, but you'll get the point. If you couldn't pay her back, 9 times out of 10, it really was okay because she wanted to help you anyway. But don't act like she didn't do it.
Oh, no.
Okay. And I remember one time somebody tried to act like something. I'm not going to say no names. But they tried to act like it was something else. And she said, oh, well, I wish you would just go ahead on and give me my money back since everything is wrong. And it was so funny because it was like, Grandma, you said that. She's like, look, it's not that I care about it, but don't act like it's something wrong with me because you and I know that I gave you some money and I actually wouldn't want it back if you would just tell me you couldn't do it. But that's not how she remembered it.
Oh, I know. And the person came up with a whole story that made no sense to anyone.
It was fiction. They were lying, like you said about that. They were just lying. I mean, just call it what it is. What the word of the day, it is what it is.
It is what it is. You know what's funny about that is my husband always had that. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's irritating, though. I don't like that.
But you know what? That was how he was able to go on. I mean, my husband, I like the fact he taught me how to go on when I have been hurt.
Yeah, but Daddy could go on, but he could also hold a grudge because he could remember some stuff. So I don't know if he went on or he just put it someplace and kept moving. Because he could tell you some stuff that happened back when such and such did such and such and such and such, and he remembered.
Yes, but he remembered, but he also had a plan. He had his own inner compass of what he was going to do when he dealt with that person again. Yeah.
It's so hard. This stage of life is so interesting because when something hurts you, for me at this stage, it hurts almost more than it did, like I said, in my younger days. And it's probably because at this point, I'm more cautious with who I allow in my space. And then when you do allow someone in your space and they take advantage of it and hurt you, it just stings. And it's funny though, I can tell I've grown a little bit because I'm not thinking of ways to get back at them.
That's a big growth.
It is. I'm not thinking of ways to retaliate, but I am just sitting there saying, dang, that really hurt me. Sometimes I want to get mad at myself for letting something hurt me. But at the same time, I can't, because to be hurt by someone in a relationship means that at some level you shared something that was probably positive at some point.
Well, you're better than I am.
I am?
Yeah, because I still have these thoughts of how it's just like, can't this just happen to them? And then these fantasies of stuff happening to them.
So then the Bible says you're supposed to just forgive. So is that, I don't think it's
not what the Bible said.
Yeah. I don't think it's ungodly to remember.
No, it isn't. Interestingly enough, we take the Bible to do anything and to justify our behaviors.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
But there's one part of the Bible that I've tried to use as a guiding principle when someone has hurt me, when someone is telling the story different. I have tried to go by the scripture that says, bless those that have blessed.
Bless those that curse you. Ooh.
And don't curse them. With cursing me, talk bad about them.
Yeah.
But all I want to do is ring from the top of my voice. Let me tell you, beware of.
They ain't no good. They's a lie. No, you're right. You're right. But you know what I also remember sometimes, especially because we're talking about relationships with people. And this is something that I've told a lot of people. When I say told a lot of people, I've had people that I've, worked with or counseled or have close friends or whatever. And I always say, remember, the Bible tells us that Jesus, he became flesh like we were, and he experienced all the things that we experience without sin. And what I remember then is if Jesus felt betrayed by his friends, it can't get any worse. I may feel betrayed by people who I thought loved me or who I thought cared about me, and they set up situations to do things, but ain't none of them ever turned me into nobody to kill me. Jesus' friends, some of them set him up. Judas was one of his boys, and he turned him over to the people who killed him. And if Jesus was able to, you know what I'm saying? Like, just think about it. Betrayal is something else. So Jesus felt everything I felt. He knows how it feels to have people change the story on you when you weren't doing something bad, but have someone change the story on you. He knows what it's like to have people who are close to you or who you've let in to your circle misrepresent you and not tell the truth of your intentions. He knows that. And what's hard for me, and I have to remember though, is Jesus has felt exactly what I feel. So I say to him, Jesus, how did you handle it? And it's not an overly spiritual. I'm not trying to over spiritualize it. I literally am like, Jesus, you had people misrepresenting you. You were healing people. You were raising them from the dead. You were casting out demons. You were doing the things that needed to be done. And they misrepresented your intentions. They misrepresented your actions. They twisted the story. They lied. They did everything. Some of them you knew, some of them you didn't, but that's what they did. How did you handle it, Jesus? And that's what I suggest that to people when they talk to me about hurt. And I'm finding that now I'm having to take my own advice and say, okay, Jesus, how did you feel when these things were done to you?
Well, that's when I know I'm not him.
And that's that. I love it. That's when I know I'm not him.
We could get all spiritualized, when people see Jesus, when they see me, they see Jesus. No, not when you, no, not on everything.
Not when you cut.
I am still in the flesh.
Yeah.
There's still things that hurt. I mean, the thing that always bothers me is how people, continue to hurt you.
Yeah.
And tell the story different and decide that when you disagree with that, that you're playing the victim.
Yeah. Yeah. You were saying that earlier. Yeah.
That's the part. That's what always bugs me. It's always you're playing the victim. And I've said something to people before, and they will tell me all about how I'm supposed to forgive. And I mean, I've had classes on forgiveness and books on why we should forgive. And it goes on and on. And finally, I asked one of the people that were teaching the class, I said, I don't understand. Why is it that you can teach me and the Bible tells me, and we all are sitting here, and God, I should forgive. Doesn't God tell you to stop?
Well, now I've said that, talked to Shane about that, my husband. And I've said, it's sometimes, but I said to him, it feels like, why do I have to do, why is it always me having to forgive somebody? But you know what he always says, he goes, well, the truth is, and I've found that he's right. You don't know often the people that sometimes are feeling that from you, because just like I'm at home, not telling them what I felt from what they did, they're probably not telling you what they felt from what I did. And not to say, he's not saying, oh, so you're just as evil as they are. No, that's not what he was saying. His point was we don't often realize what we're doing. but we're living with the impacts of what was done to us. And so he's kind of been helping me with that sometimes to realize, look, just like you didn't mean to hurt somebody, if they come back later and tell them you didn't mean to hurt them, you weren't even thinking about it like that. Just consider that maybe that's how they felt, and whoever hurt you wasn't trying to, and something just happened. They aren't aware of it. But that's when I say, well, Jesus, if you bring to my attention when I've hurt people, you'll bring to their attention when they hurt somebody, namely me.
And then I do that. I mean, I can see, and I think about, well, I did this, I did that, and I've hurt people, all of those kinds of things. But that does not change the fact
that's true
that the person has hurt me.
Yeah.
And some of the hurts that I'm talking about, it's just, maybe I'm wrong, but I cannot see how you can possibly not know that hurt me.
Well, you can tell if someone knows, I think, to some degree, if their behavior is wrong by how they act after they've done whatever they've done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you have people that you have helped or done things for everything and they do something dirty and underhanded, their silence a lot of times becomes the indication to you that they know their silence is showing their guilt, because there's no reason to be. If everything was on the up and up, why wouldn't you be normal with me? But you know you did something.
Well, yeah. This whole thing is, I should have had a warning on this one, because this one takes a lot.
I didn't know it was going to go here. I just thought we were going to talk about when people retell the story and you just have to know the truth and, resolve it within yourself and move on. I didn't expect it to go here either, but that's...
Well, the thing is, I mean, we have that in our nation. There are things that have happened in our country.
Yeah.
They are foundational things that have happened. When you start digging to the root of what happened, and when you do that and you expose the root, then people come back and say, I wasn't here when that happened. Neither was I.
That's going to be my next line. Neither was I.
I wasn't here.
But you can't deny, and you're right, because you can't then deny, though, the impacts of things and the impact of what has happened. It's undeniable. And to say, well, I don't know. That's a bigger insult than to just say that was really screwed up.
Yes. I give all kinds of excuses. I say, well, you know what? Maybe the thing is they don't know what to do with it. I mean, when you look at something that's really ugly, what do you do with it? Because you can't go back there. Yeah. So what do you do with it? And mine is, okay, I can tell you what I want you to do with it. Mm-hmm. I want you to look at what's happening now. Yeah. And recognize that why you did it was because of that, and stop doing it. That's all I want you to do, is stop doing it. Yeah. I'm not asking you to go back and to make amends for it. Stop.
Yeah. That is, Mama, that was it. I'm not asking you to go back and make amends. I'm asking you to stop.
Yes.
And you know what? I think that is really the whole thing about when I remember the story differently. By denying what happened, you're almost you're re-insulting or re-injuring the person again.
Yes.
And they're saying, just stop. I would rather you say, I don't remember, but I know we were both hurt and I apologize for my part in that. I would rather you said that and let it go than to tell me, I don't think that's what happened. That's not what happened. I didn't do that. Then it's like, okay, now you're doing it to me again.
Yes. I mean, I'm honestly, I do not take kindly to people telling me how I feel and think.
Oh yeah, you shouldn't be upset, or you should be upset.
No, you're not upset. That didn't happen that way. I mean, I don't know why you're complaining about it, because that didn't even happen. What are you talking about? I wasn't here. I didn't do that.
So then how can you tell me it didn't happen if you weren't here? That's the craziness of it. Oh man.
Oh, and mine is, I have one. How in the world you know how I feel, but I don't know how I feel? That is one of my crazy. I think that's my pet peeve is, you can tell me I'm not hurt. Mm-hmm. I don't feel that way. That what I really is, I'm jealous, or how do you know how I feel?
Yeah.
You know how I feel. So you're going to tell me how I feel.
It's disrespectful to the person because it's like, you know what, even if what I feel isn't what I don't want to say what I should feel because I don't think there's shoulds in this. But even if it's something else, respect the fact that I'm having a feeling and let me deal with that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Anyway. Okay, Mom, I'm sorry because this one got deeper than I anticipated. And I thought it was going to be fun and lighthearted. I think we did talk slightly filtered off because we would not have gone some of the places we went today. But I appreciate you always being open and honest and having the difficult conversations and always giving me your wisdom.
What I want to say is you always want to know, what do you want from the person? Do you want to connect or disconnect? I mean, or do you want to reconnect? Mm-hmm. Or just let it be. Some things, that season is just over.
And you know what? Is it okay, though, to also say, I don't know yet?
Oh, you got to have time. That doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. Time doesn't heal all wounds, but it gives you perspective.
It's not time healing the wound, but you have time. You need time to let God heal you and give you direction no, I've said another way. You need time to evaluate what is happening.
Yeah. I think time doesn't heal all wounds, but I believe time gives you perspective.
Yes.
Because I've looked back on things and time and went, wow. Okay, what happened, but where I was, it kind of had no other choice but to happen. And that's the perspective that I think time can give us. Wow.
Yes.
I feel so blessed from this conversation today, Mom. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you feel blessed.
Do you? I'm sorry. How you feel?
I don't know.
Oh, I mean, I didn't say I felt better. I don't feel great. Is that? I guess I feel related to. I feel heard, and I feel like I don't know. I just feel like we had a conversation about stuff. What about you?
I think we did, and I think also we were able to evaluate things as we were talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for this conversation.
Thanks for coming along and doing it, Mom. I appreciate it. All right, family. Well, we're going to let you go for today. We will see you next time for more Calibama Talking. If you have things that you would like us to talk about or you want to hear our take on a situation or anything like that, go ahead and drop an email to Lori@cheflorious.com. Check out all of my cooking stuff. I've got some great new videos up on YouTube, stuff on Facebook, and I can't wait to see you guys next time right here on Calibama Talking with me, Chef Lorious, everybody's auntie.
And Mama VJ, the community grandma.
Bye, guys. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.